Finnegans Wake, Book 1, Chapter 6, by James Joyce. Section 126. So, who do you know tonight, lazy and gentlemen? The echoes were in the back of the woods, call 'em forth. Sean MacIr lick brief dagger for the concern of Messieurs Jean Jameson and Song, rated 100 and thin per store 100. On this nightly quisquiquack of the 12 apostrophes set by Jocket McEarwick. He misunderstood an aim for olo of number 3 of them, and left his free natural rye posts to 4 of them, in their own fine artful disorder. 1. Not second to none, my director and Maximus Bridges maker, was the first to rise taller through his bean's tail than the blue gum boa babaun, or the giganteous Wellingtonia sequoia, where nudie boots with trouters into a Lafayette, when she was barely in her tricklies, was well known to cloud a conciliation cap onto the esker of his hooth. Sports a chains gangers Albert Solmanley over his Hollander's epulence, thought he weighed a new ton, when there fell his first lap apple, gave the heinousness of choice to every night betwixt yesterdicks and to Mary's, and 7 successive coloured saraban maids. On the same big drawing room hearthrug is a will beforce to this hour at house, as he was in Heather, pumped the Catholic watery and shocked the Protestant boyne, killed his own hungry self in anger as a young man, found fodder for 5 when all Marken rows go flooded, with Irish tutoress Cornish made easy, voucher of rotables toll of the road, bred many-headed stepsons for 1 leap your own tota, is too funny for a fish and has too much outside for an insect, like a heptagon crystal emprisms trues and fous for us, is infinite swell in unfitting induments. Once he was shovelled, and once was he arsoned, and once was he inundered, and she clung him out Bill Bailey, has a quadrant in his style to tell toll, cad o'clock it is. Offers chances to long on, but stands up to leg before, found coal at the end of his harrow, and most roses behind the seams. Made a fort out of his postern, and wrote F-E-R-T on his buckler. Is escape master in chief from all sorts of hooting places. If he out-harrods against barkers to the shoolbread, he acts whitely, was evacuated at the mere appearance of 3 germ hums, and twice besieged by a sweep. From zoomorphology to omni-animalism, he is brooched by the spin of a coin. Towers and Eddystone amid the lampliss, casting swan beams on the deep, threatens thunder upon malefactors, and sends whispers of frau's frou-frou. When Duke Hookaback Crook upsits his ass, Boosworthies jeer and junket, but they booze him oose and bars his awes, when he looks like Hunket Plunket by Sosanus. And such a poddy on a lady of the city, business, reading newspapers, smoking cigar, arranging tumblers on table, eating meals, pleasure, etc., etc., pleasure, eating meals, arranging tumblers on table, smoking cigar, reading newspaper, business. Minerals, wash and brush up, local views, juju toffee, comic and birthday cards, those were the days, and he was their hero. Pink sunset shower, red clay cloud, sorrow of Sahara, oxhide on Erin. Arraigned and attainted, listed and lighted, pleaded and proved, catches his check at Bank of Indiganged, and endorses his doom at Chapelizod. Brain of the Franks, hand of the Christian, tongue of the North, commands to dinner and calls the bluff, has a block at Morgan's and a hatach all the afternoon. Plays Gehammerat when he's ernst, but Mrs. Mausie when he's lustig. Walked as far as the head where he sat in state as the rump, shows early English trace marks and a marigold window with manigilt lights, a myrioscope, 2 remarkable piscines, and 3 well-worth-seeing ambries, arches all portcullised, and his nave dates from dots. Is a horologe unstoppable, and the ben of all bells, Fuyt, east and heret, and though he's mildew-stained, he's mouldy-stoned, is a quercus in the forest, but plain member for the megalopus. Mountain mighty, fawn on fleet foot, plank in our platform, blank in our schoolturn. Heidel, in caducates, he is enumerated. Hold as an earl he counts, ship-shaped phrase of bug-looking words, with a form like the easing moments of a gramnivorous. To our dooms brought he law, our manoirs he made his will of, was an overgrind to the underground and aqueduced for fiery throats. Sends boys in socks a coffle whooping, when he lets forth his carbon oxide, and silk stockings show her shapings when he looses hose on hers. Stocks dry putter for the ill people, and Pinkins pellets for all the pale, gave his mundi foot to Misidius, her pinch to Anna Livia, that superfine pigtail to Ciricia Serosia, and quid rides to Titius, Caius, and Sempronius. Made the man who had no notion of shopkeepers feel he'd rather play the duke than play the gentleman. Shot 2 queens and shook 3 cascals when he won his game of dwarfs. Fumes inwards like a strombolus till he smokes at both ends. Man mote befire of him, womankind pietad, shows 1 white drift of snow among the gorse growth of his crown, and a chaperon of repentance on that which shed gore. Pause and queeze, triple bill, went by metro for the polis, and then hoved by. To the finders, hail! Woe you that seek, whom filth had plenished, dearth devoured, Hawk is leading, Coco comes next, Emery tries for the flag, can dance the O'Bruen's polar pass at Newland to his own orchestrous accompaniment, took place before the Internatural Convention of Catholic Midwives, and found stead before the Congress for the study of endo-national calamities. Makes a delictuous entree, and finishes off the course between sweets and savouries, flouts for forecasts, flares for fines, and the fun of the fray on the fairground. Cleared out 365 idols to set up all colossal for henwives hoping to have males. The floor hulag, the grasping one, the kindler of Pascal fire, forbids us our trespasses as we forgate him. The phoenix be his pyre, the Cinerus his sire, piles big Pelium on little osses like the pillows of Hercules, has an Oedipus complex, and a drink the dregs, kink, worst meats for chumps, and cow Carlos for scullions, when he plies for our favours, very trolley ours. 2 psychic espousals and 3 desertions may be matter of fact now, but was fodder of Magd then. Catamole Hill, ex-mountain of flesh, was reared up by stress and sank under strain. Tank it up, tells the tailor to his tout, and 2 guts for a man, but bit a thimble for a maid. Blimp, blump, a dud ladder, a sing, a song, a syllable, a byword, a sentence with surcease, while stands in his can you see him, frails shall fall, was hatched at Selbridge, but ejaculated abroad as it gan in the big winning nangs, so wound up in a battle of boss. Roderick, oh, you've gone the way of the Danes, variously catalogued, regularly regrouped, a bush boy's holo day, a quacker's mating, a wench's sandbath. The same homo hetheres chicken losses egg as when solii early blew ye. Real detonation, but false report. Spa mad but een sane, half million, via bogus senses but a no straight houseman when all fanned, is the handiest of all Andes and a most elegant spot to dump your hump. Hands his accession to the new Patricus, but plumps phlegmatically for the bloody old centuries. Eats with the doors open and rots with gates closed. Some dub him Rothschild and more limn him Rocky Fellow. Shows he's fly to both demispheres, but tries to cover up his traces. 7 dove coats could claim to have been Pigeonheim to his Homer. Smyrnian, Roebuck, Colons Rare, Seapoint, Keyhouth, Ashton, Rotherny, independent of the lordship of Chamberlain, acknowledging the rule of Rome, we saw thy farm at useful prime. Domhill reeks like Il Bel Pays and looks like Iceland's ear. Lodged at court places, lived through Tot's reigns, takes a Zumbath for his weekend and a Wassenaar for his visfreskment. After a good bout at stoolball, enjoys girofla, what never Rome missed and Colombo found. Believes in every man his own goalkeeper, and in Africa for the fullbacks. The arc of his drive was 40 full, and his stumps were pulled at 80. Boast to him the thick enthused, the oldest creator in Ariana, and looks down on the Swiss family Colsons, whom he calls La Nouvelle Roche, though his heart, soul, and spirit turn to far off times. His love, faith, and hope stick to futurism. Light leg lifts his sense him Surians from afore, while boor brow benders curse him grommelans to his hindmost. Between you lasses and ye lads, glimpse of even. The lug his peak has, the luck his pile. Drinks tha and wad ha for his summer, and eats the unperishable sow to stave off reg'lar rack. The biggest cloak them reclined with his paddy stool, the whores winking him as they walk their side. On Christianmas at Advent Lodge, New Yealand, after Lenty illness, the Reverend Mr. Easterling of Pentecostitis, no followers by bequest, fanfare all private, gone where glory waits him, bulletist. But not here yet, Maxwell Clark, co-minxed under articles, but finished a Borgias, from the vat on the byre, through the boor, in the dark, to the puddle of the barn, is A1 and the highest, but ro-ray his root. Field fond of hackleberries, when as all was tuck and toss up for him as a youngster to fall, foo of hockenbetches, wherein he had gouged the use of raisin, ads, elements, das doles, raps, rustics, tams, turmoil, sass-seed enough for semination, but Sue's skivvies on the sly, learned to speak from hand to mouth till he could talk Irish with his eyes shut, hacked his way through hick-heck-hock's butt, hanged his help, from there, hereafters, rialtos, Anne's leg, beans and bowls, to say nothing a took of new comin, the gleam of the glow of the shine of the sun through the dearth of the dearth, on the blush of the brick of the wild veal of bonds whom has dust turned to brown. These died a Tottenham, Rurut, Dulce, Bracken, Tiso, Fullersash, Sundu, and Cress. Long gone, but not forgotten, stood his shop a salt of famine, but grew Gotha, and Gotha. He has 24 or so cousins germinating in the United States of America, and a namesake with an initial difference in the one's kingdom of Poland. His first a young rose, and his seconds French-Egyptian, and his whole means a slump at Christie's. Forth of his pierced part came the woman of his dreams, blood thicker than water last trade overseas. By shop of glinty look, Earl of Hode, you and I are in him surrented by burn blids, Ellen's flea port, perhaps, but Huang Chang everly time. He was one of your high, big, pipey boys, but fancy him as smoking fags. He's at time of life, mount of mish, Mel of Moy, had 2 cardinal ventures and 3 capital sinks, has a peep in his pocket-book and a packet-boat in his keep. BVHBLG PPMTDSVBDTCHLON is breakfast, langa, dina, and super. As the streets were paved with cold, he felt his topper airy. Taught himself skating and learned how to fall. Distinctly dirty, but rather dear. Hoveth chieftains everywhere with mortar. Ostmen, Effendis, Surge, Padashaw, Bases, too many. Outpriams all his parasites. First of the Finnegans, Roi du Fonnion. His tiara of scones was held unfillable, till one Liam failed him in Westminster, was struck out of his situm when he rowed Sauli to Damascus, and to our appalling predicament brought us plagues from Budapest, put a match head on an aspen stalk, and set the living afire, speared the rod and spoiled the lightning, married with cakes and repunced with pleasure, till he was buried. How happy was he, and he made the welkins ring with up Mikaoba. God at the top of the staircase, carry on the mat of straw. The falsehood of a spindler web chokes the cave mouth of his unsightliness, but the nestlings that live in his leaf screen sing him a lover of arbutis. We strike hands over his bloodied war sheet, but we are pledged entirely to his green mantle. Our friend, Vigligo, our swaran, Foi, under the 4 stones by his streams, who vanished the wassail bone at the joy of shells. Mora and Laura had a hill of a high time, looking down on his confusion till firm look in readiness, forward spear and the windfoot of Courage strewed the lake mist of Lego over the last of his fields. We darkened for you, falterer, in the year of morning, but we'll fit heel to the dim twinklers when the streamy morven light calls up the sunbeam. His striped pantaloons, his rather strange walk, Hereditatus columna, Hagian cheaton, Edafron. Nods enough for the nonce, but crows cheerio when they get ecumenical, is a simultaneous equator of eliminated integras, when 3 upon 1 is by inspection improper, has the most conical hot piece of Confucianus, Heronym, and that chuffious chin of his is like a footsie kungaloo around Thai Shantyland. He's as globeful as a gasometer of lithium and luridity, and he was thrice 10 annular years before he wallowed round Ragian Circos. The cobblestone at the coping of his cavern is a canine constant, but only an American could approximate the preciosity of his at last allongment. Stickled rights and lefts at Barristown in his hunt for the boar tooth, but made his end with the motorheads that came at him in Camlin Street. A Hannibal in exhaustive conflict. An Otho to return, burning body to Eiger air on melting mountain and wooing wave, We go into him, sleepy children, we come out of him, struckless for life. He divested to save from thee Mrs. Drownings, their rival queens, while Grimshaw, Bragshaw, and Renshaw made off with his store and clothes. Taxed and rated, licensed and ranted, his three-faced stone head was found on a white horse hill, and the print of his costerless feet is seen in the goat's grass circle. Pulled the blind, told the deaf, and called dumb, lame, and halty. Miraculone, Monstroxylene, led the applause at the creation and hissed a snake charmer all for stays. Hounded became haunter, hunter became fox, harrier, marrier, terrier, tav, Olaf, the oxman, Thorker, the torable. You feel he is Vespasian, yet you think of him as Aurelius, Ugamore, Tradatory, Socianist, Commonizer. Made a summer assault on our shores, and be giddy got his sons full. First he shot down Raglan Road, and then he tore up Mollsbarrow Place. Cromlick Height and Cromwell Hill were his far-famed feet rests, when our lurch as lout let free into the Luba he loved. Mares shoaled his ward moats and delimited the main. Netted before nibbling, can scarce turn a scale, but grossed after meals, weighs a town in himself. Banba prayed for his conversion. Bula missed that grand old voice, a colossus among cabbages. The Melarang scene throne of fruits, larger than life, doughtier than death, Gran Turco or Reformant, Luxemburger, Leperlin, the sparkle of his genial fancy, the depth of his calm sagacity, the clearness of his spotless honour, the flow of his boundless benevolence, our family fur-bear, our tribal tarnpike, quarry was he invincible, than cur he was burked, partitioned, Irk Skacombe, united Irishman. He took a swig as his own method, but she tasted a bit gawky. And as for the salmon, he was coming up in him all life long. Come, either Dick, Heckleberry, and Sawyer thee, Warden. Silent as the bee in honey, stark as the breath of Hawk, Costello, Kinzella, Mahoney, Moran, though you rope, Amrik, your home ruler, is down. Figure right, he is hoisted by the skirt of his shaggy neck. Figure left, he is rationed in isobaric patties among the crew. One asks, was he poisoned? One thinks, how much did he leave? Ex-gardener, Riesengebirger, fitted up with planctorious existences, would make rose, yo greedy mites, little house. Tout sheets and scuppers are washed, but the oil silk mac leaves their pet, mix his aqua scutum. The enjoyment he took in K, women, the employment he gave to G, men. Sponsor to a squad of piercers, ally to a host of Rowleys, against lightning, explosion, fire, earthquake, flood, whirlwind, burglary, third-party rot, loss of cash, loss of credit, impact of vehicles, can rant as grave as oxtail soup and chant as gay as Porto Flippant, is unhesitant in his unionism and yet a bigoted nationalist. Sylvia Cola is shy of him. Matrosenhosens knows the joke, shows the sinews of peace in his Chester wars. Fief of home, 939 years of copyhold, is all days open for polemy polity's sake, when he's not sometimes closed for the love of Janus. Sucks life's elixir from the petty pickles of the Jewess, and rolls in sulks if any popeling runs down the Huguenots, Boomerport, Wallesley, Ubermierschal, Blocher, and supercharger Monsieur Ducroux, Mr. Mudson, Master Gardener, to one he's just paunch and judex, to another full of beans and brehons, hallucination, couchman, ectoplasm, passed for black sheep till he grew too white, woolly, was dromatoized by Mac Milligan's daughter, and put to music by one Schubard. All Fitzpatricks in his emirate remember him. The boys of Wetford hail him Babu. Indanified himself with borrowed tribute, and was shanked publicly to Brigstall, was given the light in Dre Orchafs, and entombed in 3 plexes. His likeness is in terraquite, and he giveth rest to the rainbowed, liberality, fraternity, and quality. His reverse makes a virtue of necessity, while his obverse mars a mother by invention. Be skilk his gun well, and he's the second imperial, untie points, unhook dentist, and his lathe and plaster calls upon all thing when he fails to appeal to each of us. Basington's R.D. Congsema, Rex Regulorum, stood into Deemouth, then backed broadside on Balocleva. Either Eldorado or ultimate Thole, a kraal of feud fires, a crawl of 5 pubs, laid out lashings of laveries to hunt down his family ancestors, and then pled double trouble, or quick quits to hush the buckers up. Threw peblets for luck over one sodden shoulder, and dragooned people laid arm to their teeth, pept as Gaudio Gambrinus, grim as Potter the grave, ace of hearts, deuce of diamonds, trouble of clubs, fear of spades, cumbrum, twinesi nurses for a drum. But tre to uno tips the scale. Reel the title roll opposite a brace of girdles in silver on the screen, but was sequenced from the set as crookback by the even more titulars Rick, Dave, and Barry. He can get on as early as the 22nd of Mars, but occasionally he doesn't come off before Virgin Tinkanke Germano. In his Indian name is Hapa Pussy Sobish Way, and his number in arithmophocy is the stars of the plough, took weapon in the province of the pike. And let fling his line on Eelwick, moves in vicious circles, yet remews the same. The drain rats bless his offals, while the barkbirds curse his floodlights. Portobello, Equaducto, Der Cocta, Percorello. He pours into the soft-clad Shelbourne the hard cash earned in Watling Street. His birth proved accidental, shows his death its grave mistake. Brought us giant ivy from the land of Yoncus, and be with us, Apostolopoulos, with the gale of his goal. While satisfied that soft, youthful, bright, matchless girls should bosom into fine, silk-clad, joyous, blooming young women, is not so pleased that heavy, swearsome, strong-smelling, irregular-shaped men should blot out active, handsome, well-formed, frankied boys. Herald Harry fair all loaf the wheat, husband your aunt and endow your nepos. Hearken, but hush it. Screen him and see. Time is an archbishopric. Time was a tradesman's entrance, backburn brooked with wath, scale scarred by scow. His rainfall is a couple of knee-highs, while his meanest grass temperature, Mach 3 in the shade, is the melting point of snow and the bubbling place of alcohol. Has a tussle with the trolls, and then does himself justice, hinted at the eschatological chapters of Humphrey's Justice of the JPs, and hunted by the Theban recensors, who sniff there's something behind the bug of the deaf. The king was in his corner well, milking Moxo Murray. The queen was deep in armbor, feeling fain and furry. The maids was meest the hawthorns, shoeing up their hose. Out pimps the blackguards, pump and pump gun they goes. To all his foretellers he reared a stone, and for all his commothers he planted a tree. 40 acres, 60 miles, white stripe, red stripe, washes his feet an anacroata. Ooh, Mr. Porter, so what shall he do? for he wanted to sit for Pimp Loco, but they've got him to stand for Sue. Dutch Lord, over Oza's head mound, king and martyr Dongstong in the east, Peter Lepot in Petrin, Barth agreed by the exchange, he hastens towards dames, troth and wedding hand like the Prince of Orange and Nassau, while he has Trinity left behind him like Ball Bigger Beale the Bostonley, brow of a Hazelwood, pool in the dark changes Blowwicks into bullocks, and a well of Artesia into a bird of Arabia. The handwriting on his face wall, the cryptoconcoidis phonostomata in his expressions. His birth spot lies beyond the Hellespont, and his burial plot in the pleasant little field is the Yildiz kiosk on the peninsula and the Anne Guest hostel in St. Scholarland. Walked many hundreds and many score miles of streets, and lit thousands and one night lights in hectares of windows. His great wide cloak lies on 15 acres, and his little white horse digs by dozens outdoors. Oh, sorrow the sail and woe the rudder that was set for Mari Key. His sons, the Huns, his daughters, the Tartars, are plenty here today, who repulse from his burst the bombbolts of Ostenton, and falchioned each flash downs a duck in the deep, a personal problem, a locative enigma, upright vehicle of arcanization in the field, lying chap, flood supply of celluculation through ablains, a pot of the whole as a pot for a whale. Dear Haywood Costello Equerry, were daylighted with our outing and our looking backwards to unearly summers from rhododendrons, is above the seed fruit level and outside the leguminiferous zone. When older links lock older hearts, then he'll resemble she. Can be built with glue and clippings, scrolled or voided on a buttress. The Night Express sings his song, the song of sparrow notes on his stave of wires. He crawls with lice. He swarms with saggots. He's as quiet as a mursk, but can be as noisy as a sonogog. Was Dillman when his date was palmy, and Mudlin when his nut was cracked. Suck up the sea, slept loud at ease, one lip on his lap and one cushla in his crease. His porter had a mighty grasp, and his box is the boon of Broadwhite. As far as wind rise and rain eats and sun turns and water bounds, he is exalted and depressed, assembled and sundered. Go away, we are deluded. Come back, we are disghosted. Board the Ostrov, leapt the Infera, swam the Mobile, and flew the Moyo like tallow of greasefulness, yea, of dripping greasefulness. Did not say to the old, did not say to the scorbutic. He has found a house, Uru, a house he has founded to which he has assigned his fates. There's a raven geolant, on a vegeled Duif, ruse the halo of his varlet, when he appeared to his she-cook as haycock, emmet, boro, toro, ostrich, mangy, and skunk. Press the beer of ailed age out of the nettles of rashness, put a roof on the lodge for him and a cook in his pot pro homo. Was dapifer, then pansinser, then hortifex magnus. The topes that tippled on him, the types that toppled off him, still starts our hares, yet gates our goat. Pocketbook, gapman, gunrun, the light of other days, dire, dreary darkness, our awful dad, timor of torture, puzzling, startling, shocking, nay, perturbing, went puffing from King's Brow to new customs, doffing the gibbous off him to every breach of all size, with pa's new heft and papa's new helve, he's papa-pa's old cutlass papa-pa left us. when young-headed, old-shouldered, and middle-ish neck aged about. Collar herring every day, turgid tarpon overnight, Silurian, the comalian, that changed endocrine, low even his loaf, with 40 bannocks. She drove him dafe, till he drive her blind up. The pigeons, doves be perching all over him one day on Basley Bridge, and the ravens dove the pitching their dark nets after him the next night behind Konigstein's arbour. Trump of the ref, comf of the priv, prosp of the pub. His head wood, it's ideal if his feet are ballyclay. He crashed in the hollow of the park, trees down as he soared in the vacuum of the phoenix, stones up. Looks like a molten bolter and sounds like a rude word. The mountain view, some lumen pale, round a lamp of sukar, in buoyant water. 3 shots a putty at a blup saddle, made up to Miss MacCormack nee LaCarthy, who made off with Darley Dormond, swank and swarthy, once diamond-cut garnet, now dammit-cut's grony. You might find him at Florence, but watch hour for him in Wynn's Hotel. There's his bow, and where's his leaker, and here lays his be quiet hearse deep. Sweet Albione, likeliest villain of the place, Henry Canterell, Cochrane, Egotisters, limitated. We take our tays and freeze our fleas, round Saturn's mounted foot, built the loon's kirk, and destroyed the church's land, who guess his title grabs his deeds, fletch and prieties, fashion chaps, artful duke of Wiley's lie, huggle bellies, funeral, cookcock, caliccock, heard in camera, and excruciated boom. When with benches billeted ban, if buckshock back shattered, heaven gendered, chaos fouted, earthborn. His father presumptively ploughed it deep on overtime, and his mother, as all events, must have travailed her fair share. A foot prince on the magazine, hitman, unhorsed by searing sand. Honorary captain of the extemporized fire brigade, reported to be friendly with the police. The door is still open. The old stock colour is coming back, not forgetting the time you laughed at Elder Totterhouse's duck-white pants and the way you said the whole township can see his hairy legs. By stealth of a curse, her Olburn tress abaft his nape she hung. When his kettle became a hearth skuldis, our Thorsty set their limpy vampire. His year letter concocted by Master Hans of Assays, his hallmark imposed by the standard of wrought plate, a pair of pectorals and a triple screen to get a wind up. Lights his pipe with a rosin tree and hires a 2-horse to hole his shoes. Cures slavey scurvy, breaks baron's boils, called to sell Polish, and was found later in a bedroom. Has his seat of justice, his house of mercy, his cornucopias, and his stack Sarai prospector. He had a rucksack retrospector. He hold the Holpen stake, won the freedom of New York for the mind of Jugoslaves. Acts active, peddles in passivism, and as a gorgon of self-frigiousness, pours a laugh's worth of his ill formation over a lamb's worth of salt. Half heard the single maiden speech La Belle spun to her grand mount, and hold a lifetime by his ein fireside, wondering was it Hebrew set to himmeltones, or the quicksilver song of quaternions. His troubles may be over, but his doubles have still to come. The lobster pot that crabbed our keel, the garden pet that spoiled our squeezed peas, he stands in a lovely park. C is not far, importunate. Towns of X, Y, and Z are easily overreached. Is an excrescence to civilized humanity, but a wart on Europe. Wanna made sing signs to sound sense in yit. He wanna get All his flesh, new-made moths, truly plural and plausible, has excisively large rings, and is uncustomarily perfumed. Lusteth ath he listeth, Clea whithpith, of a Themis, is a prince of the Fingalian, in a hibernaiad of hoolies, has a hodge to worry him, and a Frenchie to curry him, and a brown Banson for his beater, and a Fritz at his switch. Was waylaid of a Parker, and bestotten by a Buckley. Kicks lintels when he's cuppy, and casts Jacob's arrowroots, dime after dime, to poor waif strays on the parish. Reads the charms of H.C. Anderson all the weeks of his evening, and the crimes of Yvonne the Tolerable every strong day morn. Soaps you soft to your face, and slaps himself when he's bad end, owns the bulgiest bung barrel that ever was tip-tapped in the privace of the Mullingar Inn. Was born with a new silver tongue in his mouth, and went round the coast of iron, with his left hand to the scene, raised but 2 fingers, and yet smelt it would day, for whom it is easier to found a sea, an Eblam Anna, than for I, or you, to find a double tie in Damsterdam. To live with whom is a life mere, and to know whom a liberal education was dipped in hoily olives, and chrismed in centautos. Here's cricket on the earth, but annoys the life out of predicants, still turns the duck's ear of Darius to the now thoroughly infuriated one of God. Made man with just that jerk in minted money among many, likes a 6-a-cup pudding when he's come home, sweet home, has come through all the eras of live as venture, from moonshine and champagne down to clouts and puddled porter. Willem the First, Heinrich the Arlt, Charles the Second, Richard the Third. If a mandrake shrieked to convultures at last surviving his birth, the weep duck will wail bitterly over the rotter's resurrection, lose his weight in the moonlight, but girder by the sun dawn. With one touch of nature set a veiled world agreen, and went within a sheet of tissue paper of the option of 3 gowls, who could see at one blick a salmon taken with a lance, hunters pursuing a doe, a swallow ship in full sail, a white robe lifting a host, faced flappery like an old King Canute, and turned his back like Cincinnatus. Is a far and a more far, and a horror father, naked bucker in villas old as new, squats a quart and cracks a quaint when it's flagging in town and on haven, blows whiskery around his summit, but steps stout upon his footles, stutters 4 he falls and goes mad entirely when he's waked, in steam to the pearly morn, and tomb to the morning night. And an he had the best bun-baked bricks in bold Babylon. For his pitching plays, he'd be lost for the want of his one mobbing wool. Answer? Finn McCool. Does matter, know your Mike. Answer. When I turn me optics from Sir Turban prospects, 'tis my filial's bosom doth behold with pride that pontificator and circumvallator, with his damn knight garrulous slip by his side, and alive the lisp of her, 'twould Grieg mountains whisper her, and the bergs of Iceland melt in waves of fire, and her spoon me spondies, and her dirkle me on the knees make the ragious ocean kneel and quaff a lyre. If Don's Dane, Anne's dirty. If he's plain, she's purty. If he's fain, she's flirty with her auburnt streams, and her coy cajoleries, and her dabbling drolleries, for to rouse his rudder up, or to drench his dreams. If hot Hammurabi or cold Ecclesiastes could espy her pranklings, they'd burst bounds again, and renounce their rowings, and denounce their doings for river and iver and a night. Amen.